Hey, it's Evan with a tiny app to manage your team's coffee intake. At a startup, you often take on a bunch of different jobs, many of which are not ones you'd expect when you first join. Everything from watering the office plants to making sure that our video conferencing is working properly to things like making sure our office is properly caffeinated and ready to fire on all cylinders. And I often find that there's one or two unsung heroes out there who take it upon themselves to go and fulfill this task every single day. In our San Francisco office, Ben Davis is that hero who is often the first person to come in, brew a fresh pot, and then leaves a nice, subtle Slack message, made coffee. Simple, but a great reminder that the day is going to be just fine. And I thought, how could I best congratulate Ben in these moments, but also encourage others to take on the mantle of this responsibility? It may have started slightly as a joke, but I've found that this actually encourages a lot of really positive behavior in the company, and also can be applied to many different scenarios. We actually do have a plant watering log, which rotates responsibility. Also, when we're focusing on bug bashes, we'll use docs similar to these to recognize folks who are large contributors in that. And so we found that this type of leaderboard, small, tiny app experience is really helpful to motivate the team and can be just a fun way to engage. So I built this doc over the course of a 30-minute meeting. It's fairly straightforward, but hopefully it can apply to a number of different processes in your team. Let's take a look. This is actually another single section doc. So I have only one section where all the action is happening. One of the core actions, this button, is right at the top above the fold. And frankly, it's the only action someone has to take. Literally, they go into this doc, they can do it on mobile or they can do it on their computer, and they just hit that made coffee button. You can see in here that this made coffee button will just add a row to a coffee maker log table, which is actually listed at the bottom here. This table is just a few columns. What it does is it logs the person, the user who actually hit the button. It logs the current date and time. And then it has a Slack button, which is configured to send on a regular basis using an automation. So if I press this button here, you'll see that a row has been added to this table. We're actually using a concept called default values to do this. So the value for new rows in this table is the user, and the default value for this table is the now formula, which returns the current time and date. And this button is available for me to press. What this will do is send a Slack message to a channel, and it will look something like this. Joe Demento made coffee. The other thing this will do is update this little view of this table. This is actually just a view of the coffee maker log, but it is laid out in a chart format. So this is a pie chart. I can change this to be a line chart to see it over time. But for right now, I'm just trying to do an all-up comparison of who's the biggest contributor to the coffee making machine. And then we have this little canvas formula here, which literally just fills in with the last addition to this coffee maker log. So the next time somebody presses it, it will update automatically. So the last part of this doc is just the automation component. Obviously, I'm not sitting in this doc 100% of every day looking to see when this has been pressed and then following up. And so what I've done is I've set up a couple of automations in this doc. The first is I set up a coffee slacker, which will simply trigger whenever a row is added to the coffee maker log table, and that will push all of the Slack buttons that are not already pushed. And the next one I set up is a reminder for when you actually forgot to go and hit that button on the log, and just to make sure that people are getting the fair credit. This will actually trigger based on a time, so every day at 4 p.m. PST. And it has a filter in here which says if there is no entry for today, then you will actually run this action. In this case, I've actually used the Slack pack in the automation itself without pressing buttons here, where this will post a message. The content is just a question, anybody make coffee today, and it puts it in that SF channel. And you can see again, this is roughly what it looks like. A lot of confused faces, people who don't know why this is happening. This was probably day one of me launching this, but now everybody knows. And that's basically it. So this doc actually runs on autopilot most of the time. All you have to do is press the I made coffee button and you get an automatic response. And every day there's a reminder message to go in and clean things up if you haven't actually logged your coffee. Probably a little bit of a silly game to play internally, but something that you could apply to a bunch of other scenarios, everything from plant watering to bug bashing to even running check-ins for an event. A lot of these models are basically the same, just applying these building blocks in different ways. So hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions in the comments, let me know, and I'll see everybody next week.